Oh, okay. All right, let's do this. Thank you for being so patient with us. It is the world first. All right, the new one, and I just talked to Philip the other day, spoke very highly. I've known him for a couple of years now.
Oh, good.
I want to start off because I found it to be very interesting. You were born and raised in Hawaii, in a place that is so near and dear to my heart. I love it.
Oh, good. Makes two of us.
Oh, how can you not? It's like heaven on earth. But
Yeah.
do you feel like that was like a big, how can I say, motivation for you to get into acting? Because I know for myself when I went out, it stimulated my creative juices, and that was enough for me.
Sure. Well, I think that, first of all, and I did move away from Hawaii when I was in high school, to the Midwest. So I was raised there for the most part, but then also, have another experience of another place in our country that also was really transformative to my decision to get into acting. But to your point, I think that because Hawaii just culturally, it does revere storytelling and the arts and beauty so much. And I grew up, I was a dancer early on, but I grew up going to a lot of, our May Day performances that revere the Hawaiian culture and the royalty background and the history of Hawaii. So that really, I think, was the beginning of appreciating storytelling. And, we say in the islands, like talk story, like everybody has, stories to tell. And I think it's just part of why I love the culture there, but also the people there. They really do value how we connect with one another and that being how we share stories with one another.
It's funny you said that because that was the first thing that hit me. The soul and the heart and the spirit of those people. They're just the purest of the pure.
Yeah, they are. They're wonderful. It's a wonderful culture. And I always say, if you ever get the opportunity to go to Hawaii, there's something about the energy that's there that is, I've traveled quite a bit. It's unlike anything else. Yeah.
All right, let's jump into this because I said to Philip, I said to him as I said to you, thank you for taking on such a role in such a story that is so relevant between suicide and betrayal and the loss of a child. For you, why was it so important to take on this role? I know Philip said about Damien, being a part of the project, but I want to hear from you.
Yeah, and I had never worked with Damien before. I know Philip had. So this team of people, of filmmakers, was all entirely new to me. The casting director reached out to my reps with this role, and I'm an actor who I think anytime we get the opportunity to act, it's always exciting. But I've kind of leaned into being a bit more selective about some of the things if I'm given the opportunity, just because I think taking on a role like this, no matter where the project lives, I take very seriously. I know the amount of work that has to go into it to do it justice, but also because of the message that it carries. It's a lot of responsibility. So when I was sent the script, I thought, oh my gosh, like, is this something that I'm ready to take on? Playing a mother, I've done quite a bit thus far in my career, and it's a wonderful thing to take on different things that relationship dynamics with your children and with your husband or whatever that might be. But to be a mother who is in this state of grief that sustains throughout the entirety of this movie was scary. It was really scary, which of course made me want to do it because I've known people who have experienced this level of grief. I have not myself, but early in my adult life, in my early 20s, I did experience something that was very life changing and transformative that took me to the brink of what I would consider an immense amount of just terrible sadness. And so I could relate to that in some capacity. And so I jumped on board. It is it's a script that takes you on a lot of ups and downs, because not only does it explore these themes of grief and these realities of what the consequence of bullying might be with children and teenagers specifically, but also it really is about coming together and love ultimately. I mean, ironically, it's airing this weekend, Valentine's Day weekend, but it really is centered around, you know, how love can and truly be healing if we allow it to do that for us. So that was the journey. So yeah, it was really about the script. It was about the character. It was about the themes that I would be able to experience, and then also, you know, I think you watch Reasons for a couple different reasons, and some films we can turn on and enjoy, and they're thrilling and exciting, and others we watch because we see ourselves, you know, and we sit with that, and we can have catharsis through that, or we can somehow feel a relation to someone that we watch and feel better about the world, or learn something, or be moved by something. And that's certainly what this film is. It's certainly not one of those Lifetime movies, which I love, that takes you on a wild, you know, ride. And I feel like the title is a little misleading, because it does have elements of cheating, but it's really not this spicy, salacious kind of movie. It's sometimes a very hard watch, and it's very confronting.
I have to say that you played Monica in this one, and you kind of touched on it, what I was going to ask you, but for yourself, to step in her role, step in her shoes as a mother, that had to be such an undertaking. You know, how did you, God, I guess I'll say, balance all of the emotions, playing a mom, dealing with a child that's been bullied, suicide, all of it? How did you take that on? I mean, because to me, reading a script is one thing, like you said. You
Yeah.
can have the salacious ones of Lifetime. I love them,
Mhm.
you know, but for this one, how was it for you to, one, embody a mom and ultimately bring Monica to life?
Yeah. Um, it was first of all, it was heavy. I mean, I had a great experience. It was a wonderful cast and crew out there, which made my job much easier. But you know, as one does with these films, they're very quickly moving. And so um it was a heavy set for me, and I as much as I love, you know, being around my cast, and there was a lot of running, you know, from the rain outside and inside, because we were shooting in Florida, and a very rainy season in September, but I had to kind of protect my energy a little bit. One way that I did that, just from an actor's perspective, is I had to hold a lot of that inside until we came into the close up too, just to preserve some of that emotion and to be really present in the moment and feel what I needed to feel. But ultimately, I think, you know, I didn't have too long to prepare for the film, but leading up to it, I did deep dive into some of the things I could find online in regards to real people who have lost their children, real parents. And one thing that I took with me was, you know, Monica is, when we meet her daughter before she passes away. And then we see 2 weeks later how she's still in the grief, but she's also in a state of, it's not denial, but she is having to move through that grief along with that to find justice. So there's a part of her that hasn't made peace with that yet. There's a part of her that is not allowing herself to be fully consumed by the grief, because she has so many questions. It also complicates things because a lot of parents lose children when things are not so great in their relationship, and maybe, you know, they're not on the best footing. Monica is going through a separation with her husband at the time, and so when you first meet her, she's very insular in that world, in experiencing her own grief with her loss of her family unit that she's had for a long time. So there's a lot of things that she hasn't had a chance to really make peace with and come to terms with yet. So you see her go on this journey of experiencing this heartache and this grief, but she's not allowing herself to fully, I think, come to terms with that yet, because she's got to figure out what happened to her daughter and make sense of that. And what's even more heartbreaking is the fact that she didn't feel like the relationship she had with her daughter was at a place where she knew enough, what
Hmm.
she was experiencing.
Well, Philip is the one that plays the dad, and like I said, I've learned, I mean, so much from him. He's such an amazing, amazing, amazing person and an actor. How was it for you? Did you know about him, of his work beforehand, before you jumped into this role?
I knew of Philip just by proxy with people that we've worked with, and I think that this community of actors that do these television movies, we tend to know of each other. But I never worked with him before, and honestly, it was really great to have him as a teammate on this. He was very supportive and kind, very grounded, and very much someone who was present to like really authentically take this on. And as an actor, the most that you can hope for from a teammate and a co-star is someone who's willing to sit there with you and see where things go, and doesn't come to the table with their own pretense of how things should play out or their agenda. But he really wanted to make this film something that was impactful, I think, as well. And so that was a great teammate to have. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I told him, I said, if I could have picked, because I've seen your other work, if I couldn't have picked two better actors that I'm, aware of your work to play these roles, because you both equally have done some pretty intense roles. And I can't wait. Like I told him, I can't wait to see it when it airs. In fact, I have a bunch of my family that are DVRing if they can't watch it tomorrow,
Okay.
um, because I think it's so impactful.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of, like I told him, a lot of, the idea of social media, the idea of bullying, the idea of suicide, the
Yeah.
idea of divorce,
Yep.
parents that are divorced are going to have to come together for grief,
Yeah.
due to
Yeah.
grief. Um, One very big question that I got when I had mentioned to the people, to my listeners, and a lot of people, they, I don't want to say they want to become actors or actresses, but what do so much of the eclectic body of work that you've done, what would be like one bit of advice that you would give somebody that's kind of, I would say maybe trying to put their feet in this whole thing of acting?
Mm. There's so many answers to that question. I would say, one thing that I don't think gets enough attention or talked about enough, is really understanding how to regulate your nervous system. And I don't mean that just because of that is what we need to do as actors when we're on a set, but I mean that outside of work as well. This profession, this business is such a roller coaster ride of actual emotions as a person, as an artist that you're going to experience. And so really understanding how to regulate your nervous system so that you can sit with the amount of anxiety that you might feel, or heartbreak that you're going to feel. Inevitably you're going to feel heartbreak, and so really learning how to do that well is going to help you in all aspects of this business, most definitely. Yeah.
I think I couldn't have given better advice, just given even to the context of the emotional roller coaster of this one.
For
Um,
sure. Yeah, well, and that's the other thing is, I think that so many people kind of, they figure out, well, it's learning the lines and it's being present and it's being there and engaged and you're playing a character. But I think to do really authentic, honest work, which is to me the best work you can do, and the only work that I know how to do, is to really be able to sit with your nervous system and allow those things that are happening within the scene to move you, in a way that is really truthful. And the only way that you can do that is to know how to surrender when you've got a camera right here and there's 20 people right here. And it is about learning how to regulate. And people don't talk about that. They think that it's just about the acting and it's just about learning how to act. And part of learning how to act is to know how to tune all of that out and to really get into your body. and really feel those things that it registers in a really authentic way. Yeah.
Thank you for that, because I think that's the piece that a lot of people don't realize. We see the movie sets, we see, the final product, but we don't know that like the camera's like right here,
Right, right.
on certain scenes, it's like there's no space.
There's no space, or you've got to get it, real quick, one take, moving on. So it is a very high pressure job. I mean, look, I'll put it in context. We're not saving lives in the sense of in an emergency room, but I do take the work very seriously, because especially with things that, I take every film seriously, but especially with things like this, that we have to have such a real dropped in true emotion for that to register with someone who's watching that screen. Yeah, it is a lot of pressure. And specifically on this one moment I'll point out is, again, going back to, we were fighting the rain every single day. I think it rained every day except the one day that we had off. The one day we had off, it was beautiful outside. But every other scene, it was pretty much raining. And there were a lot of outside setups, and there were a lot of scenes that were supposed to take place outside that eventually we had to move inside. So one day we went to this beach park to shoot this particular scene, and it was about a 3-page monologue that I have. And I thought, oh boy, this is going to be interesting with sound and the rain and the wind. And sure enough, we started to shoot, and that rain came, and it was a disaster. So we had to move the scene inside after several hours of waiting for it to clear up. And then when we finally got, situated and set up inside where we decided to shoot the 3-page monologue, I had about 1 or 2 takes, and, we just move on. So that's, but that's filmmaking, right? That's just what happens. And we don't talk about that stuff in acting class. They don't prepare you for knowing how to deal with that sort of pressure. But if you've done the work, not only on the script and, and prepared in that regard, but if you know how to regulate that nervous system and drop in to that emotion really quickly, that's how you get there.
My final question, because I appreciate again so much you taking the time to chat with me on this. Sure. Amazing. I can't wait to see the movie. Do you have anything like in the works that we can look forward to on seeing you hopefully soon in the future?
Yeah, I shot a film just before the holidays. I'm not sure where that's gonna live yet. It's another thriller, but it's a very different character for me. I actually am a brunette in that movie. And I play a woman who is dealing with domestic violence. So another serious role. But I loved shooting that movie. Another very relevant story to tell. And then we shall see what else we've got cooking. It's a new year.
Let me tell you something, beautiful girl. You got plenty more to come.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for all of your support and being an advocate for these stories that, as fun as they can be to watch, really do matter to people. So,
well, as I said to Philip, it's my honor to share you guys sharing the stories and sharing it with the fans, because we only see one part, and I like everyone to see the 360 effect of what you guys go through before we see, obviously, when it airs tomorrow on Lifetime. Yeah. So I appreciate you immensely.
Ditto. Thank you.
And we will definitely be in touch on the next thriller. I can't wait. It sounds like another good one. You have a beautiful day, honey. Take care.
Thank you. You too. All right. Bye-bye.